our panelists, our esteemed District 67 champions, and to all of our participants this evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, this is a very special event, first ever held in District 67, an online panel discussion. And how lucky are we? We have 5 district champions with us tonight. Now, I would like to give a brief introduction to each of our panelists. So when I call your name, can you just like wave, okay? For in order of winning the year of winning the championship, we have District DTM Josh Myers. And by the way, I should just note that all of our champions tonight are distinguished Toastmasters, DTM, and all happen to be teachers. So I'm not sure, is that like a prerequisite? We'll find out in a minute. First of all, DTM Josh Myers, and Josh is our 2014 District 67 International Speech Champion. We have our DTM Diana Watson. She is our 2015 District 67 International Speech Champion, and she is also our 2017 Mandarin, so Chinese Mandarin Humorous Speech Champion. And I'm sure everybody remembers. Is it 我很奇怪吗? Or is it 你很奇怪? 我很奇怪, right?
Yeah, 我很奇怪吗?
Oh yeah, but it's even better hearing from you directly. So we all know Diana went viral with that video speech. And next we have DTM Haishuo Li. He is our 2016 District 67 International Speech Champion. And I also found that you are our 2014 English Humor Speech Champion. Okay, and we have DTM Anson Sat. Anson is our also a double champion. Actually, he's a double champion, 2013 and 2019 International Speech Champion. Whoa, Anson, double champion. And then DTM Paul Sharpe. He is our current 2020 International Speech Champion. Hello, Paul. Okay, so we have a great session lined up tonight. And so I will be demonstrating, my name is Simone Nash, by the way, and I will be demonstrating the Level 5 elective project, moderate a panel discussion, as the moderator of this panel. And the title of this evening's panel discussion is What Makes a Championship Speech? Okay. And now I would like to get started with our panel. And so I want to just explain the purpose of our topic tonight. So what makes a championship speech? Gosh, I hope my words flow a bit smoothly. What makes a championship speech is to explore the qualities of a championship speech, and we will start by discussing Mike Carr's 2020 World Championship winning speech. The title of Mike Carr's speech is The Librarian and Mrs. Montgomery. Okay. To our panel, and this is an open question, so I'm not going to direct it to any particular person. Let's see who would like to start. What was your biggest impression from watching Mike Carr's winning speech? Who would like to go first? Okay, I think Josh, you were a millisecond faster. Okay, so unmute. Yep. Okay.
What impressed me most is that he used the medium really well. He knew that this was a virtual medium. It was not the stage. So he started off like really like in the corner. He used the whole screen. He used forward and backwards. I thought that was different from as far as I can remember, all the other contestants. So that's what really impressed me. It was different from anyone else.
Okay, thank you. And how about Paul? What was your thoughts on Mike Carr's speech, initial impression?
So I just love the title. The title of the speech, The Librarian and Miss Montgomery. It's something that reminds me very much of all the great childhood books I read. And it took me back to when I was a child, and kind of like C.S. Lewis's title, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that kind of title. I don't know, just for me it was very nostalgic, and I really loved the title. And the second thing I really enjoyed in his speech was his use of alliteration, which is something that I really, really appreciated. He used words like, alliteration is when you're making sounds that sound similar. So you use something like spellbound, stagger, bad guy called bad English. There are others like scared of sheriffs, stick to my stomach, all these repetitions of the same sounds. I really think that's a very useful skill in speaking, learning how to just catch people's attention using these techniques. And I really enjoyed that part of the way he structured his speech, his choice of words. They were just very attractive to me personally, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Anson?
Yeah, I agree with Josh. I was totally caught off guard in terms of how he was able to transition what's supposed to be a speech in front of thousands of people, and instead just using the camera so well, and in fact making us even relive his memory in such a vivid way. It just caught my attention, and then I was just hooked for the rest of the speech.
Right, okay. And how about Diana?
Yeah, I love his introduction, how he really mastered angles. And angles are incredibly important when you deliver speeches on Zoom, or when you have to use a camera and look at a dot for, under 7 minutes and 30 seconds. That is not an easy thing to do. You don't have much room to really know exactly what space. I was wondering if he used some kind of director to help him use the angles in the most efficient way. He even went forward and backward he went forward to maximize the intensity of the moment. He went backward to show that he was insecure and not sure about things. And him starting in the lower left-hand corner like he did, where you could see he was cowering like a child and he was afraid and he wasn't sure. It was genius. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was genius. It was very, very good. It was definitely a model that we can use in the future for other championship speeches that need to be on music camera as a medium.
Yeah, definitely. And how about Haishuo?
Okay, hear me all right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so there are 5 things that I like about a speech, and there are 1 thing that I don't like. But of course, let's focus on the things we like now. So of course, when it comes to speech, it's all about preparation. Preparation is the key. We can tell that the speaker has tailor-made the speech into the video format. And when the speech content and the gesture themselves have been tailor-made, there are 2 more things that are tailor-made. Facial expressions. The speaker actually zoomed in to allow the speaker or other attendants and all our audience to see that very, very clearly. Or also like that visual effect, like the film projector. It would be very, very hard for us to make people listen to that sound effect if the speech is actually delivered on the stage. And there are a few more things I really like. First is about vocal variety. And there are a lot of very good vocal, like tension build up. Like projector showed nothing. And of course, the librarian lean forward and say, fine. I love his vocal variety. It's just really good. I love the way the core message is presented. The victory is in the trial was presented at least for 3 times completely, and 1 more time incompletely. And of course, I love the way in the very end, the speaker actually connect the speech to the audience. And by the way, I have actually made a handout for everyone. So I'd love to present that in the very end of this workshop. Let's do it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, all right. And so, if I were to ask you, does anyone have any suggestions for improvement for Mike? Okay, Haishuo.
Right, I certainly have that. There was one thing that I think this speech in this part can really be improved. And the thing is that this is so culturally, this is such a cultural thing. I mean, in the very beginning, she actually quoted, I before E, except after C. This is, well, we are all language teachers, so we totally understand what this is. This is, of course, the spelling rule of thumb. But the thing is that if you're not brought up or being taught in a native country, it's not very easy to get this one. Really, really not easy. I can definitely bet on this. For most of the Taiwanese speaker, they would not get I before E except after C. And the second stuff would be the librarian, the iconic image of librarian. This librarian image is very stereotypical in Western culture, but not that stereotypical in other cultures. That's the second stuff. And the third would be the librarian and Mrs. Montgomery were on the shoulder. That, of course, I think we can relate to that because we all know the angels and demon thing, like speak to us. But I believe the cultural part is a little bit strong in this speech. Well, that's, I think, something maybe can be adjusted.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And Paul, did you have something also?
I honestly did not get the diversion to Norway. Like when he's talking about, I want to go to Norway. Why do I want to go to Norway? And then the way he comes in, he says, I'm sure there's some people from Norway watching this. I just didn't get that. I felt it took a little bit away from the rhythm of the speech. I felt that he could have put something else in there that connected stronger to his core. I get what he's saying, like, later on, I fell asleep and I dreamt that I was swimming to Norway. But I think you could have done that much quicker. You could have said, and I thought I wanted to go to Norway. Why? I have no idea. And that night, what did I dream about? Swimming to Norway. You could have done it really quick. But I just think that was a little bit of a distraction for me, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I also felt that it was kind of, I don't know, he was trying to add some humor or trying to be cute.
I don't know what he was trying to do there, so that for me was just like kind of like that.
Right. Okay. So anybody else have a suggestion for Mike? Anybody? Okay, Anson?
Yeah, I just want to chime in on the librarian. I had a little question mark at the end of the speech because I was kind of surprised that the librarian had let him off the hook. And he had developed her into such, I guess, quote unquote, evil person. And for her to just let him off the hook like that, I thought it was a little jarring. And although I did understand the message was very clear, there were still some holes with the librarian and the parents as well. That left me hanging because we did not find out what the parents actually reacted to. I'm sure he told his parents. So I was just kind of like, okay, so what happened with the parents and the librarian?
Yeah, so it seemed a little bit unbelievable that the librarian could just let him off the hook like that.
And it could have been fixed. I think it could have been fixed if he had added a couple, and if he had removed the Norway segue and added some quotes from the parents or maybe even the librarian.
Yes.
Fine, you tried anyways, right? And that could have even solidified his message even more. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And anybody else? Diana?
Actually, one of my, I don't want to say it's a pet peeve, but it is sometimes a little concerning when people tie in the value of their speech into Toastmasters too much in their speech. I think that sometimes, and I've done this when I've competed years ago. I did this, and one of the contestants say, oh, you had to mention something about Toastmasters, didn't you? And it kind of stayed with me. And ever since that happened, I'm very careful where, I think it's okay because it's an easy way to connect with all of us. But at the same time, you don't want to overdo it. And I know this year was very challenging and special for the organization, but he really, I think he overdid that part a little too much. I think that there would have been other creative ways that he could have tied the value where it could connect with all of us, rather than necessarily using what Toastmasters as an organization had to go through in order to get the contest up and going on Zoom and all that. So that's my critique.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, and yeah.
Just to add on to what Diana said as well, like normally in Toastmasters we are taught that you need to have the bulk of your speech should be a personal story, right? And I did the timing on it, and the first part of the speech was about 5 minutes, and then the speech goes on for about 7.5 minutes, so it's like 2.5 minutes is completely off the original story. And there's no rule that says you should maximize your personal story, but we've got kind of used to that in Toastmasters. I felt, for me personally, like as Diana said, you went on to talk about Toastmasters, you talk about you trying to encourage you to try. But for me, that was also like, maybe you could have made the story longer. And then, to what Anson said, they would have given him more time to actually complete the librarian. If he had given like maybe another minute on his own story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was timing that too, and he stopped the story at about 5:18. Yeah, and then So I want to come back to that point about how much time you should spend on the story part, and then how much at the end. But Josh, do you have a suggestion for Mike?
It's starting with exactly what you said. I thought his core value came in quite late, and I think it was the story part took quite long to develop and for him to get to the core value part, which is also, like Paul said, it's not wrong, it's not a rule, but like it's conventional wisdom says, like, get your core value out as soon as possible, and then bring it back and repeat it, call it back. So that would be my only suggestion, is like maybe find a way to bring in the core value earlier.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because his I guess his value, or his one line, which is also his one-liner, the victory is not in the result. The victory is in the try. So that only came out once he had actually failed, putting the projector back together. So like you say, that's really far into his speech. So, okay, thank you. And so what in terms of what Paul was talking about with the, he spent 5 minutes, 18 seconds roughly on the story, and then up to about 7.5 minutes just explaining his values. So does anybody have any good insights into what would be a good way? Because remember, our participants, also me, I want to join some contests in the future. So looking for good tips, what would be an ideal structure in terms of story and then the end part? Who would like to tackle that one?
Okay. As I said, I don't think there's a rule. I think it really just depends on your ability to connect. And so I think, what all the other kind of said, he did connect really well, using Diana's words, like the angles, right? Like coming at different angles. He connected really well with that. And so, what Haishuo said, like he customized the speech for this format. And so I think that like really worked. And I think it's not really the length of the story, it's how well do you connect? Even if you're on a stage or if you, whatever format. And I think his saving grace on this was that he mastered this format completely, as everybody else said, and I agree with him, right? He mastered this, and he created solid connection for 7 minutes, because I think for me, like, I was kind of like, what's he going to do next? Like, and just help me in the speech, because I really want to see what he would do next. So I think that's the most important thing, like, how well do you connect, not so much the time for me.
But if you spend a lot of time, if you cut off stop your story quite early, then I guess the rest of the speech is, well, it depends on how interesting the speaker is.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it could, yeah, like you say about the connection, yeah. It could feel like it's really long. Actually, I did feel it was getting a little bit long.
Me too.
But I was really so impressed with the story part that I kind of like said, okay, I'll listen to the rest of it. My personal opinion, yeah. So, okay. And all right, well, I'd like to ask another question. How important is it? We just talked about his, well, it's a long one-liner, right? How important is it to have a one-liner? So we know for me personally, the most famous one-liner is that I'll never forget is Dhananjaya's I See Something. Of course, Mike Carr's was the victory is not in the result, the victory is in the try. So how important is it to have this one-liner?
Take this one.
Okay, Diana.
I'll take this one because I would say almost every winning speech I had always had like a key one line. One thing that Mike didn't do, his one liner was way too long. It was way too long. It needs to be brief. Like it's I see something, but it's actually I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. That's long, but it all connects together. He just used I see something in the title, so then it can create some kind of mystery of what he was going to talk about. But that, even people who weren't in Toastmasters say, did you know this guy? Like, this is a great speech. And I'm like, yeah, I actually met him. He's in Toastmasters and he came to Taiwan. I was like, woohoo. And it was from his speech where I knew that previously, but after that speech, I said, anytime I want to win a speech, I have to make sure that there is a good one-liner or at least a key symbol that basically marks the whole speech. So for my Chinese speech is, am I strange? For Chinese speakers, that was like a key thing. Like anytime I saw strangers on the street, they're like, are you the white girl? And because it just would click and it would ring. And for Emily, it was just L. It just was the symbol of the speech. It's so key that an audience connects with the speech with an easy symbolic memory of it, either a very short one-liner or some kind of symbol.
Right. So, 我很奇怪吗? Or Emily,
am I strange?
The Am I strange, right? The L, and then also Dhananjaya's I See Something in You. All of these one-liners were able to be introduced quite early in your speeches, yes. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's an issue with Mike's one-liner. It seems like the way as it's written, it's very hard to see how he could introduce that earlier unless he changed the wording. Yeah. So,
sure.
Paul?
I completely agree. Like I always encourage people, because Craig Valentine, I think he won the World Championship in 1999, always said you should have a key message that is no longer than 10 words. So I see something in you is probably less than 10 words. But then you watch Muhammad Khatami's speech, The Power of Words. Like it's the title that grabs you. It's not the one-liner. Like I cannot think of a single one-line in that speech that I can recall. Well, I can remember a lot of the speech, but not one particular line that's sending out a message. Just the speech, The Power of Words. And then he gives a lot of examples of how words have power. And he has a great closing. Like the closing takes it away. You use your words to destroy a nation or to build somebody up. So his ending is great. He doesn't really have one-liner. So yes, I think it is important, but that's the one example I can think of a world champion winning without any particular one-liner that I can recall. Can any of you recall it? I can't.
Basically, I don't even remember that speech.
You
like
don't?
the only ones I remember are ones with good one-liners or some kind of other symbol. Honestly, they're usually the ones that I remember because I have a bad memory.
Well, that's the one I can remember, and it didn't have a one-liner in it.
Okay, thank you. And, well, okay, this is a good segue into my next question. Humor, is it absolutely necessary to have humor in your speech if you want to win? Okay, maybe Anson, would you like, or Haishuo?
I will actually provide a very simple answer for like all these questions. I think the most important thing is to grab judges' attention and the audience's attention. But of course, in a contest, judges' attention is of course the most important thing. So the reason why we need a one-liner is very simple, because we want the judges to remember. And the reason why we need humor is because if we happen to be like the later part of the contest sequence, having humor is often a really, really good way to attract the judges' attention. I wouldn't say that judges 100% necessary, but the thing is that humor might not be 100% necessary. But the thing is that a lot of different speakers, especially world champion speakers, they all find their own unique way to attract attention. For example, let's think about like Dhanajaya's speech. Is there a lot of humor? No, I wouldn't say a lot. How about that guy from the United States, the Middle Eastern champion? For that speech, it also did not start with a lot of humor. Or how about this? For Jinki's speech, no, not a lot of humor, but there's some wordplay. But the most important thing is that they all use a lot of different ways to make people remember their speech. So, for example, like take myself as example for the one-liner. Well, my speech. If you go ahead and check my speech script, I never had one-liner, but I would say having a one-liner is definitely a lot more easier way to make people remember your speech. It's definitely easier. And I don't use one-liner simply because I choose not to, but it's definitely a much better way, I would say.
Okay, thank you, Haishuo. Yeah. And Josh, I need to bring you into this. What is your view about the humor? Is it absolutely necessary to win?
I would not necessarily. Yeah, yes, it is necessary to win, but I think it's also necessary to connect to the audience. So no matter what format your speech is, whether it's a keynote speech, it's a presentation, it's teaching a class, humor helps you to get the audience on your side. And you want to get the audience on your side. If the audience is on your side, the judges will take notice. And the best way to do that is with humor. I mean, you can tell sad stories, you can make the audience even cry, but I would say humor trumps everything else. It should not be exclusively, you're not supposed to go there and tell joke after joke after joke. You have to have a story to back it up. You have to have a good core value, but like make them laugh while they learn. Because once the audience is in that humorous mode where they laugh, they also relax. And this is something someone told me before. The audience is just as nervous as you are. They are nervous for you. They want you to succeed. It's like, please don't screw this up. Just please entertain us. Teach us something. And the moment you make them laugh, it's like, okay, good, cool. We can relax now. So that's why I think humor is very important.
Okay, thank you.
Chime in.
Yes, sure.
Actually, I want to kind of give a different viewpoint on humor. I think humor is necessary in some speeches, but I would like to challenge future contestants to do some topic that is more daring. And I actually enjoyed Miller's speech a lot because she went off the beaten track with her topic on racism, and that's not something that you can really joke about, right? And so I think humor is important to connect with the audience, but I don't think it's necessary in all circumstances. Now, in terms of a contest, I think you have to take into consideration that the judges will have gone through a lot of speeches, and if you're number 9, and if all the speeches before you are very serious topics and there's not a lot of humor in there, and the judges will appreciate a little giggle here and there. And so from a contestant's point of view, I think humor is important, but I think as a standalone speech, I definitely challenge Toastmasters to really to go off the beaten track and just like my car, try something new.
Can I add something to this just real quick, Simone? Just to add on to what Anson said, Ed Tate's speech focused on racism. And his introduction was the M word. And it caught everybody's attention. And there was almost no humor in it. And he got the world champion that way. So there are some speeches. And I remember in Kuala Lumpur, the winner of the semifinalists, where he talked about his mother being a schizophrenic. And he said he knew he wasn't going to win because he said, there's no way I'm going to win with a serious speech like this. I'm just sharing about my mother having schizophrenia. So he didn't prepare the second speech. And when he went to the finalists, he apologized and said, everyone told me I wasn't going to win because I had such a serious speech. I apologize. I didn't prepare a second speech. There are instances where people have very serious speeches and they win. So it's not a 100%. Even, I think Josh is right. When they laugh, you can get them on their side a lot easier. But sometimes when your story is that grappling, it's that serious, and you touch into their emotional strings so strongly, sometimes you still have them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That it would be a brave person to try a very serious topic. But yeah, like you guys, I think it really would be good to see. And also, I would like to ask about your views on acting. I have heard over the last several years, there will be certain people who will say, it's too much acting in this speech. You know, are we public speaking or are we actors? So what's your view in terms of the importance of acting versus simply some purposeful body language, gestures, and good stage use? So who would like to go for that one?
I'm one of the detractors. I'm one of those who says Toastmasters sometimes goes too far to the dramatic.
Okay.
And you know, you have to win, so we have to play, as Haishuo said, we have to play to the judges. But, you know, watching Darren Tate put on some underpants, that was pretty funny. But sometimes we're trying to be memorable, you know, as everybody said, we're trying to be memorable. So we play to the judges. I do a lot of acting, you know, because I know that's what I do to get there. But personally, like, I think a speech is not really that. I think it's kind of like a little bit of a one-man show plus a little bit of a speech added on. But, you know, it's not right or wrong. It's just whatever you want to do and whatever works. And however you connect with the crowd, however you connect with the audience. So I have my preference of what I think a speech is. But, you know, you have yours. It's not right or wrong. It's whatever makes you happy, however you connect and whatever you think works for you.
Okay. And Haishuo, would you consider Mike Carr's speech to be to have a lot of acting, or is that just purposeful body language?
I think Mark Carr's speech, of course, then he uses a lot of acting, and especially a lot of the gestures and the screen setting is set perfectly geometrically. For example, like this. It's very hard for me to position the screen, but the things that he actually deliberately did a lot of different things on purpose. But allowing me to very quickly go back to this question, that is, I have one very simple point to make, and this is what I believe. That is why you see I lost from time to time, even after I've won national champion. That is, after my first national championship, I have come to believe one thing. That is, we come to deliver the speech we want to deliver and make the impact to the world. We deliver the speech not to win. And the thing is that when we deliver the speech to win, we tend to lose. It may sound perfect paradoxical, but it's true, at least to me. The thing is that the more I am myself, I tend to win a little bit more. And the more I tend to please the judges, the more I tend to lose. And the thing is that when I did my speech, for example, like my journey to fight my lost doctor when I was born, I mean, for that one, I didn't want to win. I canceled. And that year, I believe Diana was the first. And Josh is the second, I believe. That was the year. And I canceled. But it was one of my happy speech. So I would love to encourage everyone. the most important thing is about it's not about how much humor you want to put in or how much acting you want to put in. It's your masterpiece. So if it's your masterpiece, how would you want the world to see you? And for the acting, it's our clan. Our clan is shaped like this because in the very end, we need to present on the super large stage. So our speech style tend to act, well, just a little bit too much. The thing is true, but it is what we are what we are. And the thing is that when we as Toastmasters, we are going to do workshop or we are going to do like tap speech, we are not going to speak like this. We are not. We will adjust ourselves. But within our clan, we act to please each other as a friendly gesture to our own kin. That's what I believe.
Can I chime in real quick? I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and trust me, if you have any plans on being a professional speaker, don't even think of acting when you give your presentation, or you'll instantly be discredited. They'll say, what kind of a speaker is this? So there's a big difference between Toastmasters and being a professional speaker and getting paid.
So when Mike Carr was doing the fluttering of the impression of the slide like this, that's acting, right? That's considered acting? Yeah, okay, right. I just want to clarify that.
It is.
Okay.
I would like to add to that. I would not say acting. I would rather say it's part of storytelling. And I think the trend these days, the last few years, they were really strong storytellers. And even Paul, when you won this year, your opening sequence of how you told that story of jumping out of the train, it was storytelling. And you have to embellish, you have to add sound effects to make the story compelling. You have to be a bigger version of yourself. But I love what Haishuo said. You always have to be yourself. So whether you consider it acting, storytelling, just adding sound effects, or presenting a professional speech, just always be yourself. And you might be different versions of yourselves. And as a speaker, you develop an instinct. You will be different in front of different audiences. If you, like Diana say, you're a professional speaker that gets paid, you have to give a professional speech. Where you do competitive speaking, which is different from professional speaking, where you compete in a contest, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to bring everything to create a moment that's going to make you stand out. So I heard this question a lot. I don't like it when people ask me. I feel a little offended. It's like, what do you mean acting? I'm just here, doing my thing. But I think it's a fine line, as Paul said. There's no rule. There's no right or wrong. I think it's, in the end, what does your speaker's instinct tells you? What is necessary for this speech?
Right. So you adjust to the stage. Yeah. Sorry, we have to move on. So my last point, before I ask each panelist to provide one call to action to our attendees today, okay? Because I believe that most people who attend this panel are interested in contests, just like me. So I'll ask everybody to provide one call to action to our participants. But before I do that, just one more thing. Also, there's a lot of talk about native speakers almost always winning the District 67 English International Speech Championship. So what's your view on this? I know, Diana, you really broke the, what should we say, the glass ceiling in terms of the Mandarin Championship, right? But how about English native speakers versus English second language speakers?
I think Haishuo is the perfect one to answer this one.
Yeah, well, of course, Paul, this year's and last year's both native speakers, right? Paul and Anson.
Yeah, and then for 3 years they were not native speakers.
Right. So we had Emily Liu, of course, Haishuo Li, and Chen Juhui, right?
The non-native speakers, yeah.
non-native speakers. So there's been a good mix, but still there is the feeling that at least when you look at the top 3, it's very regularly native speakers. So what is your view on that?
Well, I think the reason why Simone's asked me the question was because a few years ago, I brought up my concern that there weren't Taiwanese women that were winning, that were competing or winning. And I had made a commitment to coach a Taiwanese woman in the contest. And, you know, I knew that it was going to be a challenge just culturally, coaching someone, and also just the family responsibilities. Many times they don't have the free time to participate in contests because they have children. She had a business. She has a business. She has 2 little girls. She had a sickly husband. She had a lot of responsibilities, but it was my goal to assist someone who was a non-native speaker because I believe that their stories weren't being told, particularly Taiwanese women. So, you know, to answer your question, Paul, that's the reason why I think Simone's directed it to me, because as you can see, Emily's not here. So I'm the person who can kind of like represent her since she's not, and say that it was challenging for her to do the writing for the speech. I had to really guide her. It took a lot of work. Haishuo, of course, you know, he's the grammarian king of like everyone. But with Emily, I really had to constantly check her script every day, literally every day. We were working back and forth with the script because I insisted that she had to do it, but then I had to correct it, which was an incredible amount of work for her. But the fact that she had that mentor, she had that coach, was able to ensure her to be able to compete, which was important because people needed to hear her story.
Okay, thank you. And so Haishuo, among these 5 wonderful champions, you are the only non-native English speaker. Of course, you speak English so perfectly, but what's your view, like as a non-native English speaker champion? How would you encourage other non-native English speakers to go for it?
Okay, I have the following suggestions. The first is that to really ace the contest, you need to speak English. Your English level needs to be at least like this or better than this. And my English is not perfect, but the things that you need fluent English. That's the first one. And the second is prepared speech. It's not impromptu. It's not table topic. So it can be prepared. Your accent can be corrected. Your pronunciation can be corrected. Your intonation can be adjusted. Everything can be prepared. So the most important thing is that if that's the way you want it, if that's your life goal, I would say go ahead and get it. But is it going to be harder? Well, of course it is. But if you want it, then you need to pay extra effort. You need to devote extra time. So that's my second, make more preparation. That's my second suggestion. And here comes the last. That is, if I'm going to enter the international speech again, the international stage, after district, I will definitely hire someone to write my speech, actually direct the way I act. And I will become an actor. And I will find someone as my director. Seriously, that we all have competed at least once, and that's how I felt. If you're a non-native speaker and if you want to fight on the international level, I would sincerely suggest you do this.
Okay, thank you, Haishuo. So that's like really going full in. Okay, kind of like what Diana's talking about, working with Emily as well. Okay, so that's wonderful, and thank you very much to all of our panelists. I would like to now very quickly go around the room to ask, what's your one call to action for our participants? Assuming everybody who is attending this panel is interested in contests like me. Okay, so I'll start with Paul on my left. Paul?
Sure. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to attend a workshop given by Josh Myers about the hero's journey. Learn what the hero's journey is. Learn how to apply it in your speeches, because that transformed my ability to tell stories. Once I dug into the hero's journey, I actually bought the book, Josh.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
But once I understood the hero's journey, I understood how to create stories much better. And so, really, like, you don't have to read the whole book. Just go to Josh's workshop on the hero's journey.
Yes, Josh's workshop, the hero's journey, that is on YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, go look at it.
Yes, I will pull that out and share that with everyone. Yeah, good, very good point. So, and next, or perhaps we do this in order of year. So next is Anson. Your call to action.
Yeah, I totally agree. The hero's journey, and just to make it even broader, I encourage everyone to just sharpen your skills. I think one thing I've really learned in my Toastmaster journey, this is my 10th year in Toastmasters, and I think in the latter part of being in Toastmasters, I've learned that success doesn't necessarily breed success, but skills will bring success. And so I kind of learned it the hard way. So I encourage everyone to just really learn the skills to not only present, but to write and to deliver, and watch as many videos as you can, because basically all the videos in Toastmasters are now online. And so if you have free time, just study and analyze what works and what works for you. And I love Haishuo's message about being authentic. So be yourself, learn all the skills, enjoy being a Toastmasters, and success will come.
Okay, thank you. Okay, time is really running short, and our next, let me see the years. Haishuo, you are 2016.
Okay, I would suggest first is don't ever stop trying. I've lost for 6 years before I get my very first national champion, so don't stop trying. Just don't. And my second suggestion is really, really simple. That is, this may sound super arrogant, but please allow me to say this. The thing is that the secret to the wonderful speech does not lie only in better speech skill, but lie in different perspective, different ways of thinking, which means better lives. So if you want to become a better speaker, try to see yourself as someone that's going to protect yourself and someone's going to guide yourself. Create better life for yourself. And in that process, you are going to have better stories to share with the people around you. And when you do that, just like what Jinky said, wrap that message as a gift to people in front of you, to all the audience. Your life will become a gift to the world. And that's what we would truly suggest.
Thank you, Haishuo. That kind of reminds me of Dhananjaya's response when people asked him, how could we be a better speaker? And if you remember, he said something like, work on being a better person. Something like that, right? Yeah, and everybody was like, whoa, that's deep, you know. Yeah. Okay, and then our next panelist is 2015 champion Diana. What's your call to action for our?
My call to action is to show up. You're never going to be ready. You're always going to be nervous. There's never going to be enough time. You never practice your speech enough before you deliver it to a club. You never feel ready, but you got to show up and you have to do it anyway. Every single time I gave a speech in a club, I participated in a contest, I joined a Chinese Toastmasters club, I pushed myself to do it, even though I wasn't ready. I joined the Chinese humorist contest, even though no one thought that my Chinese was good enough. I did it anyway, just because it was just a goal that I had, and I wanted to push myself and say that I did it. So a lot of these goals that you're in Toastmasters because you want to learn something. So if you want to learn speech and leadership skills, you learn it by doing it. You'll never be ready. Just jump.
Just do it. Okay, great. And then Josh, 2014 champion. What's your call to action?
Believe you're good enough. Believing you can, or winning a speech starts before you even set a foot on stage. It starts here. Believe you're good enough here, and the rest will take care of itself. It's on the inside.
Okay, thank you. So many pearls. Okay, I hope our audience is absorbing it all. Okay, and that's the end of our panel. Okay, sigh of release. Let's relax a bit more. Okay, and now it's time for a short Q&A session. I actually extended the panel discussion time a little bit, so our Q&A session is a little bit shorter. Then we have one question is, well, this is a bit of a challenging question. One participant is asking you to score Mike Carr if you were a judge. So 0.0 to 10.0, give a score to 1 decimal place. Anybody prepared to do that?
No, I think he's the world champion. I think he's good. So
Yeah, I'll give him 10.
10, yeah, we give him 10. Yeah, he's the world
10.
Okay.
10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then another question.
I'll just connect to what you're saying. Well, for that's why I give the judges sheets to audience members so that we can score in the moment. I mean, it's hard to score somebody really once it's done and you know he's the winner, right?
Yeah, so just 10, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good point. 10.0. Yeah. Okay. And then another question is, how much do you want to open yourself to the public? So how much do you want to expose yourself to the public? Are there some things that you want to keep private, or you want to be true?
Of course.
True.
Of course, the things I want to keep private.
Let me finish the question. So she says, we have our privacy, and we want to be true on the stage, to be yourself. Yeah. So who would like to take that question?
I'll take that question.
Okay.
Actually, what Haishuo said, only share things that you're comfortable sharing. Maybe this is part of my American culture where we're very used to sharing the most intimate parts of our lives with complete strangers. But if I know that I'm uncomfortable sharing it, that means that I know I need to say it, because it's something that other people feel, but no one else has the courage to say it. So I push myself to have the courage to say it. With the speech about my mom and how I treated her, it was something that I didn't want to admit to anybody, none less myself. But I shared it because I know that evil part lies in everybody, regardless of how sweet they are. So every single time I share that vulnerability, the audience comes back and tells me later, Diane, I love the fact that you're so vulnerable on stage. I can feel it. I can connect with it. I've gone through the same thing. So that's my opinion. I think if you're scared, then you need to push yourself to say it. But, do what you're comfortable doing.
I just want to share about that, because last year after I entered the competition, I started my pathways thing and I did my icebreaker at Taipei Metro. And I gave a very personal speech about somebody in my life, I'm not saying who, and I was almost in tears. Like, we've never seen people stand on the stage trying not to cry for 30 seconds. People came up to me afterwards and said, you should go give that speech for the championship this year. And I said, no. And everybody, like my mentor, Lester, everybody's like, that is like the best speech you've ever given. You're the most vulnerable. But the problem is that if I give that speech, it hurts somebody else. And I'm not prepared to tear other people down on the stage. And so that's where I draw a line. Like, we can share all we want about our lives. We can pull ourselves down. But if we are going to pull other people down, even if they've been evil to you, you never pull someone else down on the stage. You leave it. And you can be vulnerable, but I don't agree that we put other people in a bad light, even if they've hurt you and they've caused you pain.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paul.
I just want to quickly just chime in too for my 2019 speech to share what happened to me, the childhood trauma that I went through. I mean, I needed to be courageous enough to share that kind of thing. So I agree, like, you have to be comfortable with the speech that you have and willing to be vulnerable. So I agree with everyone in the panel tonight. Being able to just share your story is a real privilege, and so take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I still remember your speech like it was yesterday, Anson.
Me too. Me too.
That's
Diana,
such a personal story.
Diana and I were standing next to each other at the back of the ballroom, and we looked at each other and like, oh, is that too much? But then later we knew it wasn't too much, it wasn't too little, it was exactly what was needed in that moment. And that's when I realized, because I was Mike's coach, and I was like, damn it, here's a professional speaker that followed his speaker's instinct, and you knew what that moment needed, and you stepped up. I'm like, damn it. Yeah, no, that was it's all amazing.
Okay, thank you so much, and I have to especially thank Haishuo. Well, Haishuo's been busy fielding all the Q&A questions in the chat box. So thank you, Haishuo, because we're running out of time. But really great that Haishuo's helped to provide the answers. Okay, all right, and now I would like us to take a group photo. So just everybody do your pose, and I will take a group photo. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, one moment. Okay, you can relax. I'll just save this picture. Wow, awesome photo, awesome. Okay, and then now I would like to, just bear with me, I would like to present everybody with your certificates. Okay, so can you see the certificate on the screen? Anybody? No? Okay, let me see. Okay, I think you can see it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so I'll run through these. These are the certificates of appreciation to our wonderful, wonderful panelists. So first to Josh Myers. Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And then to Diana Watson. Thank you. Okay. And Haishuo Lee. Thank you. And Anson Sack. Thank you. Okay. This is the thing about doing it online, you know. And Paul, thank you so much. Thank you. This, I believe, in my opinion, this panel discussion has been very successful, very fruitful, and absolutely couldn't do this without the 5 champions here tonight. And just before we go, I want to encourage our participants, if you haven't joined the District 67 Pathways Q&A FB group, please join, because if you have a question, somebody will answer you like within minutes. It's very effective. And then also, if any participants are interested in giving some feedback for our event tonight, here's the QR code. I will also post the link for our feedback page in the Facebook post that I will do after the event. Okay, so if you don't get it here, no worries. And I want to very quickly promote our next event, which happens to be next Saturday. So this is the third and last event for September. And thank you, Anson. So Anson's going to be busy again. You're going to do a solo show for us. Get your humor on with Anson. Okay, so can't wait for that. So register September 19th, Saturday, 8 to 9 p.m. Okay, so the registration is on the district website. Okay. All right, and it is 9 o'clock, and I had actually prepared a PowerPoint on how I prepared for this moderator role, because after all, this role tonight is I'm demonstrating the project, level 5 elective project. Let me just open my file. moderating a panel. So I feel it would be a little bit amiss if I didn't just very briefly run through this. So allow me to do this for a couple of minutes. Okay, let me just find the file and then I will share that. Okay. Okay, so I'll run through this very quickly, but also I will provide this a link for this file in my Facebook post also. Okay, so just how did I prepare? Okay, first, when you want to tackle moderating a panel discussion, you need to have a clear goal. Okay, so what's your topic going to be? What's your purpose? So obviously your topic has to be something that you need to know who's your target audience. So the topic has to be something that will be interesting to your audience, something of benefit. For example, tonight, right? We're just fresh off the World Championship. Some people will be starting to think about the next round of contests. So this is, to me, I feel is the perfect timing to have this topic tonight. Second, recruiting your panelists. Need to recruit panelists with different perspectives. So though I had no way of guaranteeing that every panelist here would have a different perspective, but I kind of, just from what I know of our panelists, personally in Toastmasters, I felt that this was a good combination. So recruiting the right panelists is really important. And you don't necessarily have to have 5 panelists like I did. You could have 3 panelists or, And then preparing the panelists, so sharing with connecting with your panelists well in advance to make sure everybody is on the same page in terms of what we want to achieve in doing this panel discussion. And also very importantly is setting the guidelines for panelist etiquette. So, for example, not talking over each other and that kind of, or going on and on and on about a point. And as everyone could see tonight, all of our panelists had perfect panelist etiquette and nobody waffled on. Everybody was really right on point and provided pearls of wisdom for us. So, excellent job. And fourth is designing questions to add value. So, as a moderator, you are representing the audience. Okay, so and being the moderator, this panel discussion is not about you. Okay, so it's about how to serve the audience. So you've got your panel together, you've got to design the questions to add value for the audience. So imagine if you are part of the audience, what kind of things you want to know. And then fifth, as I say, the moderator serves the audience. So you need to keep the panel moving. Okay, we want to make the panelists look good, as in, allow them to express themselves, their viewpoints, but we also need to make sure conversation keeps moving forward. So we need to be flexible, maybe with some follow-up questions to explore more, or sometimes we need to be firm and keep the discussion on point, so move things along. Okay, and then here, just very quickly, equal airtime for your speakers. I tried my best tonight to do that. Look for opportunities, right? Do transitions, very much like the Level 3 Active Listening project. After speakers speak, try to have some comments for transition and try to accentuate differences of opinion rather than just having complete agreement. This all makes it more interesting for the audience. And finally, end strong. Create a sense of satisfaction with a brief summary, or ask, like I did tonight, ask the panelists to provide a call to action for the audience. Okay, so, and then I have 2 pages of different resources I found very helpful. There are the links there. Okay, so that's it. I will post this file, share with our audience, and then anybody interested in doing this project, they can have a bit of a look. So that's all for tonight. Thank you again to our panelists and thank you to our participants. And that's the end of this show. Good night. Good evening, everyone. Good night.
Good night.